Hey everyone and welcome to the BeJS Podcast. My name is Elian, I'm a software engineer and I'm working at the Astro technology company in the Astro core. And today I'm joined by Alba. Alba,
hi everyone!
Please introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Alba Silvente Fuentes. I have a long name because I'm Spanish and all the Spanish people have long names. But I live in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam to be specific, and I work at the Storyblok that actually is a sponsor of Astro. So that's really nice because we are colleagues in some way.
Yeah. Well, and not only in Astro, but also at React Brussels and BeJS and React Paris as well. So basically you're just sponsoring me in everything I do.
Yeah, actually, yes. That's really
Thank
nice.
you for the money. all that you see is bought with your money.
On the money for Elian.
Yeah.
I vote for that. So.
Yeah, basically. Cool. So you live in the Netherlands. Why did you move to the Netherlands from Spain?
That's a really good question. Because 5 years ago, I was really sure. Now, I don't know what I'm doing here. but in general, I really like the culture when I didn't meet any Dutch people. So I thought in my brain that everything I like was here. And actually, it is in some kind of way. For example, since I stay living here, I bike more. I use public transport more. I never buy a car anymore. So I don't travel by car. And that's also saving some kind of pollution, isn't it? So I feel better. And they eat healthier because, of course, they don't have food choices. So they don't have another choice. They need to eat healthier.
Right.
They are really bigorexia, so I go a lot to the gym because of that, because you see everyone running in the street and it's like, I don't like running, but I want to do sports because I feel guilty every time I go to the street. So I end up having a good life, but no.
But by accident.
Because of my choice. Exactly.
Yeah. So you live in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah.
And what is like the one thing that you would say, this is what I don't like about Dutch people?
Well, that they are really close-minded. I mean, they feel open when you start meeting them, but in the very beginning, they always say no. The first thing they say when they answer you.
You have to pursue them a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they have really 5 friends, and if you want to be a friend of one, you need to kill one. So they have the space for another one.
What?
Because they have a close circle. And they need to deal with their personal life first and then have time for their friends.
Yeah.
So if they need 5 days in the week to meet them and then weekends to spend, I don't know, with the partners or with themselves, there is no space for you.
Yeah, we feel the same thing here in Belgium. Like when we organize conferences like React Brussels, for instance, we tend to do them on a Friday. And after, like, as you know, at React Brussels or all BeJS events, afterwards, we all go to get a drink together. And immediately, like, you see the family life pops up. No, it's Friday night. I have to go home after the conference and then I have to enjoy my family life, which is fine. But it's also like something, if I go to a conference, I want to hang out at the conference as long as I can, basically.
But you are from there.
Yeah, I'm from...
Not that way?
No, but I mean, I do it at other conferences as well. Mostly I'm a speaker at conferences anyway, so then I'm kind of included in all of that anyways. But I feel like if I were to just attend a conference, I would still go clubbing afterwards, like we did by accident. But I mean, I don't know. I have a good time at conferences, and I don't want that to end so suddenly, in a sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, but probably because I'm Spanish, so I'm used to take anything longer. We go for dinner. That dinner will end up tomorrow. It's like always we spend more time than we need. So I'm used to that, but yeah, probably we are in your country.
Yeah, true. Do you recall the first time we actually met?
Yeah, because I feel guilty. Because it was, I think, 2 years ago in BeJS Amsterdam, but I didn't know who you were. And I only remember your dreads. Dreads?
I know.
Called? Yeah. I learned the word in English because of you. Because actually I know in Spanish it's rastas, but I didn't know how they were called in English till I met you. Yeah.
Really?
Funny, isn't it? Yeah.
So that was JS World last year, actually. Will you be there this year again?
Indeed.
Me too.
Woohoo.
So we'll hang out again.
And I will be in the booth, so you can come, and play something.
Right.
I don't know what we will do this year. I hope something cool.
Isn't it again like always Tetris?
No, I don't think so. We removed that
Okay, cool.
to be more interactive. But
Yeah,
I want to play something in general, so I will go with my board games, so we can play literally there. You know,
Ooh.
that would be cool.
Ooh,
I have ones that are new and they only have drawings, so we don't need to translate from Spanish to other languages. That's perfect.
that would be recommended.
Yeah.
I don't speak Spanish like at all.
Well, I can
only
try
know,
a
like-
little bit of Dutch because
Yeah,
my boyfriend is studying and now
That's
I'm hearing a
true.
lot of words and it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, so we should practice your Dutch while we're playing.
Yeah, I can say ervaring or
Ervaring.
ervaring.
Yeah.
That is experience.
Yeah.
I say it right? Oh, nice!
Yeah.
1 point for Alba.
It's
Zero for
actually
Dutch.
really funny because I can really hear the Dutch accent in your Spanish accent.
Yeah, that's the
in-
thing. I feel the same. I think I'm worse in English in accent than in Dutch, and I don't know any Dutch. It's really
Yeah, that's-
funny.
But it's the same. Like, I had a conference not too long ago in France, and so I can speak French since Belgium is a bilingual country. We speak both French and Dutch.
That's
They
really
said, "Hey, you when you speak French, you sound really Belgian." I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we have like different numbers and stuff. Like, languages are weird. Like, we do a lot of translations at Astro, and I have my fair share of seeing different languages. And I must say, languages can be so weird. Like, for instance, if you say 90 in Belgian French, you would say 90, which is basically 90.
Not the numbers in general,
But
Dutch and French.
yeah, but in French, you would basically say 4 times 20 plus 10.
Yeah, actually, I know because I know more French than Dutch, and I know
Oh, really?
the numbers. Yeah, because actually, Dutch numbers are even worse, because if you want to say 23, you need to say 320. What?
3 and 20. Yeah, makes sense.
Why? It's really confusing. It's like, I'm in the start or in the end? Which
That's what
number
I
we are
mean.
in?
Languages are so weird. Like, this whole structure of them can be so different across different countries. That's insane. But what I actually wanted to ask is, so we actually didn't really met at at JHS World last year. Well, we did see each other, but we crossed each other. Nothing more than that.
Exactly.
And that's fine. I forgive you. We made that up in, I think, React Brussels. No, actually, the first time like we clicked as being able to know each other and get a friendship was at Smashing Conf.
Yeah, and work.
Because Storyblok invited me to come to Smashing Conf with you guys, and I came to support your workshop.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Because it was a workshop on, if I recall correctly, Storyblok and Astro, right?
It was Storyblok. I don't know why you remember Astro.
Oh, no, I know why.
No,
it
because
wasn't with
it
Astro.
wasn't about frontend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know why I remembered that. It was because I attended a workshop from Arissa and Josephine about Astro and
You're
and
matching
Storyblok.
everything. Yeah, we are always doing workshops in general. So
Yeah, exactly. Like, you were at Storyblok is at all conferences and is always doing something with Storyblok plus another technology. And I've attended so many workshops, so they all blend together, basically. No, what I wanted to say was, so we basically clicked at the workshop, and then afterwards, I think 2 days later, one day before React Brussels, we did a meetup together, and
Indeed.
that's where
That
we had
was
a lot
very
of fun. Then we went to get beers after.
And actually, I could enjoy your talk, because usually when I watched your talk in any conference I went that you were speaking, I was that nervous because I was doing mine or because other stuff, that at the end I didn't enjoy your talk because I didn't have time to stop and watch you know? And in that moment, I feel it. Like, we were interacting with you. You were answering questions out of the box, like they were asking you. That was really cool. I really enjoyed
that
it.
is something that I've really tried. If I give a talk like in front of an audience that's like less than 20 people, I try to make it way more interactive, as it's closed circle anyways. And it's way more fun for the audience as well. Like, they feel involved, they can ask questions. Like, we don't have a real time limit. So I think it's way more engaging in a sense. Yeah, and that's actually something that, I noted for one, and two, you mentioned it now. You stress out a lot for conferences.
Yeah.
Even though you have given a ton of workshops and talks, you still stress a lot.
Indeed. That doesn't change.
How come?
Yeah, I think that usually we start doing things that people say, you are doing it right. I really like your work. I really like your talk. And you start like doing it because you feel that that's what they want or that's what they expect from you. But probably you don't feel like it's your thing or you don't like it at all. And that's something that I didn't realize till the past year because I was doing it a lot. In the past, I was doing maybe once every 3 months.
Yeah.
Was pre-recorded most of them, so I didn't did it in person. But when I started working as a developer and I needed to do it because it was my work, I realized it's not something I like doing it. It's just something I do with passion, of course, because the topic I like it, I like to speak, but the idea of a talk is not something that fulfills me as a person or my values, for example. Okay. And I realized that I enjoy much more creating a project, open source, helping people develop or create articles than speaking at conference. So I can create content in other firms. Okay. Doesn't need to be in a stage. And for example, doing a workshop for me is quite nice when I can help each of them individually. Like it's more a classroom than an audience. When I'm speaking to the nothing or to the audience, but in the shadows,
What was your first talk ever? Let's start with that.
My first talk ever was in English because Storyblok requested. Yeah. So I just moved to Amsterdam like 3 months before that. And I didn't know how to speak it in English at all, more than technical words, because I use it daily for my work. But I didn't know how to establish a normal conversation like we are doing now.
Really?
So you need to think that it was the pressure of doing a talk and the pressure of speaking a new language. But what happened, as I was more innocent, you can feel that I was more happy doing that talk than
more
in the other ones. Yeah. It was a little bit childish.
I mean, that's fine. It's the thing that I always say is the best talk that you give is probably the talk that you enjoy most giving.
Indeed.
Because you need to have fun on stage. And if you have fun on stage, people will follow you in that enthusiasm. But I can imagine that if it's your first talk and you have to give it in English and you're not really confident in your English, that's all like building pressure. How do you cope with that? You just don't?
My psychologist cope with that.
I still have like an image in my head of us sitting in the back room, like right up front on the stage of JS World, and you were just sitting on the ground with your laptop in your hand, like this, on the ground, all curled up, like,
I wanna die. Yeah, it was real. And actually, if you see my heart rate in the clock, I was like 170.
Whoa.
Yeah, I had almost a heart attack in the stage, you can imagine. So yeah, in general,
damn.
Yeah, I think that at that moment I was in a wheel doing things for doing them without realizing what I like, what I don't like, how I want to explain things. I was just doing. And when I stopped, because I decided to stop, of course, I realized, okay, there is things I like doing. There is things I'm good at, and there is things in the middle that I'm good at and I really like doing. Of course. One of them wasn't talking, because when I speak with anyone, I can have really good sense of humor. I can maybe make jokes out of the box just without thinking. But when I'm on the stage, I feel the opposite. It's like all me is not there. I lost it completely. Yeah. Maybe in the beginning it was, but there was a point that I was just a robot reproducing what I needed to and didn't feel anything about it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that takes the joy out of giving the talk.
Yeah. So didn't have sense anymore. And
so now you're not doing talks anymore,
no.
really?
if I do, it's because I really like the conference and what I'm going to speak about. And the type of vibe. Because, of course, there is conference that scare me more than others.
Yeah.
And BeJS Amsterdam was the more scariest one. I mean,
of course.
I
It's
had that
1,250 people, basically.
in a theater. Because what I don't like is that people are seeing me like object.
No,
And also in general, when there is more women in the audience and also in the stage, I feel more me.
Yeah.
Because I feel myself more represented there. And in BeJS Amsterdam, it's sad, but the audience is not parity. I can feel that there is much more men than women, but there is other conference that are different and they have more women there. So I'm,
that's of course a really sensitive topic that you're touching there. Like, how can we improve the lives of women in tech, or improve overall the balance in between women, non-binaries, all of the genders? It's a really difficult thing, right? But I noted that you and the Storyblok people, I think it's you, Arisa, and Josephine, you're doing Women in Tech at Storyblok, right? What does that mean for you personally? What does that mean for, hopefully, the bigger tech community?
But I will say that when I was working the first years of my life, I only work with men. So I didn't realize the problem because I was the only woman, isn't it? But when I started working with other women, I realized that I was in my head a man and I forgot about it, you know? I was with them and I forgot that I'm a woman, that there is other women there, you know? And when I started working with them, I realized that there is so much difference on how we work and how we cope with things. Of course, there is women that are more of a banker, closely the doors, without lights, coding the entire day. But there is others that we are not doing that.
Of course.
And we are also dealing a lot with health issues, mental issues that probably men are too, but they don't communicate with each other, probably because at work they have another kind of set and they can be actually themselves. But the idea is that here at Storyblok, the difference, the click for me was that every man on the team and women in the team, we are open about everything that is happening. We have lives and we talk about them. I mean, there is like a really huge understanding of anything in life, not only work. And I really like that because it's not like, we are just a family. We love each other. No, we are just humans and we recognize each other in that. It's not that we are, the typical startup thingy, isn't it? No. But with Arisa and Josephine, it happens to me that, of course, at the beginning, when you met another woman that is doing the same as you, usually your brain is trying to say, scared. There is competence. I don't know why. Yeah, because I don't know what happened with the system we have, but they put that idea in our minds. And since I started working with them, that idea started spreading. And now I see every woman as an ally and someone I can work with. I can understand how we feel and we can work together and make the project better. So it changed for me a lot to work here because of the amount of girls I work daily. And I think in general, in the conference, I still feel that there is a gap there. And most of the time, I think it's because of the technical stuff. Because usually we are always in how it is called? I forgot the name. When you Zoom, you use it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
This thing.
That thing, yeah.
That thing that I don't remember now. But the idea is that we are always look up twice. So if you do something, they will
magnifying
check.
Glass, sorry.
And magnifying glass. So we are in the magnifying glass for everyone. And if we do something bad or right, they will ask you twice, always, is this yours? Did you really did that? It's like
really?
We are
like an extra confirmation.
Exactly. Yeah. We can be 5 years doing the same stuff, the same as good, and the 5th year they will tell you, oh, did you really did that? Yes, I did that. I mean, why I didn't demonstrate it in 5 years? It's crazy. So what I feel is like we feel imposters all the time. And if you go to a conference and you see the stage full of men really convinced of all the tech stuff that they know, what are you doing there? I mean, you want to go to feel bad. I mean, because for me, that's obvious. I would not go. I mean, I want to see myself being less.
Yeah.
What is less? You know, it's like, it's so for me, it would be nice that in general, every conference that did it yet, that they start adding more topics that are not only related to coding, fully coding, because there is many other stuff that we do daily that we don't talk about in conference. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't remember the exact talk title, but Arisa and Josephine from, again, Storyblok, gave an amazing talk.
The bias.
Yes, exactly. Which is a thing in tech, but not really technical, very deep or something. That's a great topic to do. I've always really liked the balance at a conference in between soft skill talks and hard skill talks, right? And I think that was one that really struck by me, like, hey, this is something really interesting, and I think there should be more talks like this.
Indeed. Indeed,
Like,
Beyond Telegram is the one that you were talking about, isn't it? The talk that they give at Beyond Telegram. Beyond Telegram is really good at that. Usually they are less technical talks than inspirational, career-based, things like that. And they are all like tech talks. You see them and you cry, you experience, you laugh. It's like, what?
Yeah, but
the
it's
whole
true.
experience in a talk.
Yeah, and I think that's important too. Like, as an audience member, you want to be engaged in a talk. You want to feel the talk. You want to relate with the talk. Let me say it like that. And if you succeed at that, I think you're giving a great talk. But it's really hard to get right. I mean, my first talk really was very shitty, and my 10th one probably was still very shitty. And now I feel quite confident in delivering what I'm doing. But that's only since probably a month or two that I'm quite confident about giving talks.
I can't believe you. I mean, you're a showman. If you probably don't did the proper technical whatever, you did a show. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's basically very right. Yeah. But that's also like the hard thing. I guess that's a part that we call imposter syndrome. But it's really hard, especially like since I've joined Astro as being a core member, people are automatically expecting things from you. They expect you to know basically all the answers to all the questions about Astro. And sometimes I have to learn to say, I don't know. And that is super hard. Like one of the hardest things, especially if you're put on the spot. If you're on stage in a Q&A, you have a mic in your hand and you get a question and you have no idea. Exactly. You are the expert.
No. Remove that title.
Exactly. That is one of the most difficult things. Like, yeah, exactly. with the big sign in the background, GDE, Google Developer Expert. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess it's always both a technical learning experience, but also like a very human and emotional interaction learning experience. And I think that's something that the DevRel really has to be like good at, being compassionate, understanding questions, understanding people, making connections, and being there for someone while also helping them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's like a process to discover yourself too. Because since I joined DevRel, I didn't notice the block that I have to learn new things because of the scariest of not knowing something.
Exactly.
Because when you get senior, I mean, when you start building your resume, you start working at different companies, start getting better at one framework, you feel more seniority. Yeah. But there is a point there that you need to broke in order to grow, because otherwise you are stuck in knowing that you are senior, you know? And it's like, no, I want to go up again. What is happening? And I was really blocked till I joined the DevRel team because I see that. I see myself handling issues I never handle. And I realize if I let myself know that I don't know, I will be able to solve this issue. If I think I know the answer and I don't know it, I will not search for it. And that's not what I need to do. So now I ask twice to the people, what is the issue you're having? Let's reproduce it together. Let's make a call. And I try to get the sense of what they are doing in a different way than when I started. That I was, yeah, of course, I know the solution. But probably was not the issue at all.
No, I mean, it's very, very understandable. Something that I don't know who said it to me, but something that always stuck by me in my head somewhere is someone said to me, the more seniority you get in your job, the more you realize that you know less.
Yeah,
that you
and it's
don't
scary.
have
It's scary.
Exactly. The less you are an expert in a sense, and that's really good. Like, and actually, I can really super materialize that. Like, when I started like searching for a job in tech, I had like a resume with 1,000 technologies. I knew everything. I know databases. I knew C#.
PHP, MySQL.
Exactly. And now I'm like, sometimes I know JavaScript if I'm not too dumb, and maybe a little bit of types. Otherwise, I just try stuff until it works. I debug. I do a lot of debugging. And that's all of it. And I mean, in a sense, that's true, right? But I guess that's also the bar that you set for yourself. If you can write in Hello World in a Java application, you don't know the language.
But you can say, why not?
Exactly. Like, that's basically the point I was at. Like, I can write a Hello World in this, and I can Google the documentation, and I can probably figure out how something works. But you do not know the language. You do not have that skill. Well, you do in a sense. If you have the good skill of Googling, I guess you can learn anything.
Or talking with ChatGPT now. So
yeah, exactly. I actually never used ChatGPT. Sadly,
for coding, neither, because we have Copilot. What I need.
Even that I don't use anymore.
No? I never use it till I get the MVP prize because they give you license for free. And it's like, okay, let's try. And now I'm obsessed. It's like, what? I
have an open source license. Yeah. So it's basically indeed like for free because I'm an open source contributor. And one thing that I will do is use it on stage, because then you have to program fast, you have to do repeatable things. Then it's way easier. But if I'm working on something alone, I actually always turn it off because I want to think. I don't want to, okay, this looks good, that looks good. And then
it's a pity when you...
Yeah, and then afterwards you're stuck 2 hours to debug something that you didn't write, and then you're lost way more than actually writing it from the start. In my opinion, of course.
Yeah, that's true. For example, when I am studying for the Vue certification, I need to put it off because I want to do something, and it's like, I need to do it as an exercise. Don't do the next step, because if you do it, I lost the track of what I'm doing. So I needed to remove it for that. And it's true that sometimes if you have to deal with a problem since the beginning, is not the best way. But when you already start the problem and you have like a mathematical operation or a regex function to do, that's like, oh God, my regex magician, please.
I'll allow that. I would do the same. Yeah. Regex for sure. Yeah. No idea still how that works, but yeah.
That's for genius people.
One of the funny things always that I think of if I write something with ChatGPT is that when I was studying computer engineering at school, at university, we had to program whole Java applications on paper. Like, here's a pencil, here's a paper.
C++. Yeah. I remember that, indeed.
You can't do that. Like,
I can do that with Vue. I think I can do it, but because I'm studying. So, I mean, no, because I'm studying for the certification. So you have the skill of remembering things.
Yeah, no, of course, that's what I mean. Like, it's because you have repeated so many things. You can feel yourself typing it in your head, in a sense. You can see yourself building up the UI in your head. Like, oh, I need that. I need a for loop here. I need a key there. I need that to do. But if you do that with ChatGPT or with something that will tell you how to write it, for instance, Copilot, and you tell it, write a for loop for me, it will do that. And sure, it will do that, but you won't have the skill on paper, in a sense. Yeah. Not saying that that's a bad thing, because on the other hand, syntax is just syntax. a for loop in React is different than a for loop in
Yes.
Svelte or in Vue. But if you know that you need a for loop, you can search for that syntax in documentation or questions, whatever, and still achieve the same result, in a sense.
I feel really dumb now because the other day I created an Astro project, a new one, and the documentation is amazing because you can find
you.
really difficult things in a really easy way. But the easy ones, for me, was a never-ending history. I was trying to search how to make a conditional and wasn't able to find
It's just
the
JSX, so
syntax.
yeah.
So what I did is just entering in your project of the website and see your ifs where they are and copy paste.
Oh God.
It was like really dumb. It's like, why I don't find the simple things? Confused.
I mean, that's the thing. You're learning a new thing you're probably used to in this case. Vue probably, you're used to using that. And then if you have to switch syntax, I can imagine that it doesn't click immediately. Yeah. But it's basically JSX, so you would actually do it the same way.
But I never code in GSX because I never use React. So
Exactly.
and in Vue, we have the directive things for the if and for. I use Angular with ng, but never the other one that is closer to JavaScript. So I was like, what I'm looking for.
But the fun thing is that if you wanted to, you could just add Vue in your Astro project and then go from there.
Yeah, but I didn't want it.
No, that's understandable.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't want reactivity. That's the thing. So
yeah, exactly. Well, you actually could write it in Vue and still have no reactivity. If you don't use the client directives, you never have reactivity.
because you then never put it there. Okay.
It would still, yeah, so you know that if you add another framework, so Vue or whatever, on top of Astro, by default, it will still output 0 kilobytes of JavaScript, unless you add a client directive, which is client and then whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's understandable that you want to learn a new language, like from the ground up and work. I've heard this before.
Yeah, because just because you have a way of doing things in your own
Exactly.
framework,
In the
I
own
prefer to
syntax.
keep it
Yeah.
till I
Exactly.
need something in client.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The first Astro website I built very long ago, I think it's 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. It was Astro 0.14 something. I actually used all the frameworks in one just to try out. I was like blown away from, you can use all of these components. And
But
now I'm
alone.
actually...
Not with a group of people. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I've never worked in a team. I was still studying at that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I graduated
you're
last
so
year.
young. I completely forgot again.
Yeah, I graduated last year. Well, no,
Oh my
wait,
God.
not last year, in 2022. So it's not last year just anymore.
Yeah,
But yeah.
COVID situation that you never know which year it is.
Yeah,
since then.
exactly. Like we just entered the year 2024. So I was still thinking in 2023 terms. So basically it's a year and a half ago. But yeah, at that time I wasn't considering teams or something like that at all. The thing was just I wanted to experiment. And now I'm like completely the other way around. Like I do everything in Astro and then from the ground up, do I really need to have a client directive? Fuck.
Yeah, it's like
Can't I write
remove
it in a native web component or something? Yeah. It's yeah. I guess that's the whole thing with Astro. It takes a little bit of your of adjust time in your head to adjust to the mental model of building something without reactivity and only adding reactivity where you need it instead of the other way around.
For me, it's really weird because I started with jQuery. So
right.
the overhead was really huge in order to do something
Oh, yeah.
reactive.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
of course,
for
it
sure.
wasn't reactive. Why? Let's see if later we can see the balloons or not.
The balloons. Yeah, I always turn reactions off when I record something. That's always
I didn't
a good
know I
thing.
will react at all.
Yeah. You're doing a podcast. No, I wouldn't react. No, not to anything. So, how did your coding journey start? Like, how did you get into tech?
Well, of course, I was good at mathematics. For that, my, let's say, high school teachers told me, you need to study something related to this. And I said, okay. And then
why?
I found...
Was that just because you were good at that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, it's always like that because
Yeah,
it's like, nah, why you will choose letters if you like this? I actually like letters too. I don't know why I didn't choose them. But no, the idea is that I started looking into the degrees that they have in my city. And I found one that it was really interesting for me, was image and sound in telecommunications engineering. And that's the one I started studying.
Okay.
And basically half of the degree was related to how to build a camera from the ground up. So you build the software, you learn about the electronics and the chips, and then how to use it, the waves, everything that you can measure there. And then you create algorithms in order to edit the pictures in different lessons. I mean, not in the same class. And then the other half of the degree was more sound related, how to build a speaker, how to learn
That's
to
super
listen to the waves. Yeah. How to end up applying this to medicine. And that's what one of my colleagues is doing right now, like checking how to make things for discovering the cancer and things like that with sound. How it is called? I forgot the name in English, but the sound waves that you can. And in my case, I choose to go for the path of image, but I was doing also practice in the radio station of the engineering, let's say, engineering, how to call it, like faculty, where all the engineering people were. What happened? That there were a lot of interviewee that were coming from the informatics. And then I realized that I have a sense of, how to explain it, like love for coding. Because in my degree, the first lessons were the same as in informatics, where C, C++, the basic of computing, things like that. I learned the basics, and I didn't know what was coding till the first year of my degree, if I'm honest. Because in my high school time, we didn't have any kind of informatics lessons more than Excel and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when I discovered I had passion for the logic of the computer, I tried the practice that we have in the third year of the degree in different companies. I tried in an agency that was making websites for clients. So there they teach me directly PHP, JavaScript, jQuery, CSS, and HTML, like basic stuff. Because at that time, the frameworks were there, but weren't that popular because everyone was using WordPress and making some kind of thing custom on top of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we start building websites with a MVP WordPress they created from WordPress. So it was really weird because they create their own server in order to host it. I mean, they make a mess in order to create websites. But at the end, I learned all the basics there. And then I realized and I discovered all the frameworks. I tried 3 of them in different courses and lessons. And I decided to go for Vue since the beginning. And actually, it was Vue V1. So since the beginning, I get a sense of Vue. Like, it was something cool.
Why did it click more than, for
because
instance,
I was coding always HTML first, then JavaScript. That everything was separated and not overheaded. I mean, because for me, Angular was I need to create a file for this. Now I need to learn TypeScript. Yeah. It's like everything at once. It was too much. Right now, for example, I see Angular and they grow better. If I see the tutorials now, I think the sense of the code for me is also cool. I mean, I get it and the point is there. But Vue was magic for me. It's like I have my JavaScript really small and I have only CSS and HTML to work with. I love it. Exactly.
That's the whole thing. Actually, your whole story is super relatable to me. Even though I'm a little bit younger than you. I also started actually in high school. I studied photography, so I'm a certified photographer.
I have also a photography.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really
cool. Then I went to university and started studying programming. Computer science with a specialty in web technology. And my first year was also like jQuery, HTML, CSS, very basic, with JavaScript a little bit. Then next year was a little bit of PHP and that stuff. And then we learned, I think, Laravel and Vue.
Laravel already? Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said I'm a little bit younger.
Yeah.
We never really did WordPress, actually. So we did Laravel with then a little bit of Vue, and then we built projects. And that's also what you said really resonated with me, is that in Vue you have single file components, and they basically are your HTML on top, then a little bit of CSS on top, or whatever that you want to, and then a little bit of JavaScript that you add. And in a sense, that just made so much sense to me, whereas indeed, like you said, in Angular you have to worry about so much. You have to write directives, you have to write TypeScript, you have to have this service, and then you have to add that, and repository, and then databases. Was really complicated, whereas that was just so easy in a sense for me. And actually that really translates to Astro as well. Astro has the same syntax style, single file components, just like that. And also that really helped me to pick both Vue and Astro later on, is that it applies the same model. So you have all of your markup, which is still just basically HTML, but with just a little bit of superpowers. Like in Vue, you have the for loops that you can build, but still it's all in the same HTML-like tag. Whereas if I had to do it in React, it was JavaScript, and I didn't know JavaScript very well at that time. So yeah, really similar, actually. Really similar story.
I love that. No, but I love that they give lessons with Laravel, because Laravel for me was also the, let's say, how to call it? It's a framework of PHP. Let's call it like that. Mm-hmm. So Laravel for me was the one that discovered Vue, discover Tailwind, and make them grow. And for me, that was like, oh my God, God Laravel. I don't use it, but I like Laravel. I just check what they are adding, just to see what is the next turn. It doesn't matter if you don't code PHP. Just go to the website of Laravel and check the new technologies they are talking about, because probably you will like them. And it's really nice. Yeah, I really like the Laravel team. I watched the documentary and I was crying with the history. I mean, I don't know what happened to me. I was like, oh my God.
There are 2 Belgians in there?
Yeah, that's true.
And both of them I know personally. Yeah.
Oh, really cool.
So Freek, I organized the meetups with here in Ghent. You're soon coming to Ghent. Woo! Sorry, different story. And then Dries, who actually did the meetups before I did the meetups here. So yeah.
That's really cool.
So I know
that's
them.
really cool that you know.
And also that's the reason, like, if I started doing, like, attending meetups here in Belgium, in Ghent, all of them were almost Laravel and Vue teamed because of them. And like, that's a good thing, because then actually Laravel for me opened up the whole JavaScript and PHP or the web. You can build applications for the web. You don't have to write it in super difficult languages like C# or Java, or it's you can do it in PHP and then just some UI on top and then Tailwind, and it's super easy. It works really well. And you have like all this like eloquent collections and databases, and it works with such a beautiful API that it makes it seem so easy. Yeah. We really like steal a lot from Laravel for Astro. Well, steal. I won't call it stealing, but like we take a lot of inspiration from them, and I guess they do from us as well. And that's a good thing. That's why it's open source. Open source
that's beautiful.
Has to push the web forward altogether and not just be competitors in a sense. Indeed. I still have the feeling that there are too much competitors in this world. Like, no, actually, that's not true. In between open source maintainers, there is no real fights going on. But if you go to a Vue conference and you will ask, no, I use React daily, they will like bash on you. Whereas if I go to talk with Dan Abramoff, a React core member, former React core member, and I say, hey, I use Vue, he said, oh, nice, what do you like about it? And then you have a very different conversation. And that's what I really liked about Astro. Astro doesn't take sides. Astro is friends with everyone. Astro, you can use any technology on top of it.
Yeah, it's like a storybook.
Yeah.
Because basically. I feel the same when I'm trying to pitch for the Storyblok and people already love a storybook. It's like, we are friends. That's the only thing I can say. Because I know we have competitors that are directly attacking us. And Storybook is friends of everyone. So it's similar to Astro in a sense. Everyone will love it because at the end, any technology they use, they can use it. It's like,
Exactly. And it's important. Like, we all have a common goal here, and that's to make applications on the web better in a general sense. and not just make Vue the new standard of the web or make React the new standard of the web or whatever. Yeah, I think we're in a really interesting like point in time where last couple of years we have seen all of the applications move to client side, and then we have seen Quick and Astro taking the whole other side of static generation and resumability, and now we're seeing everything move back to the server. So yeah, it's a little bit weird. What do you think about that?
Yeah, for me it's crazy because if I'm honest, I only create client-side applications for personal projects that didn't matter at all. But I never work in any project in the companies I work for that weren't server-side.
Really?
Because at the end, most of the projects that I had were not simple websites that just a user will check. So they were not static because of that. There were e-commerce that you need to deal with data. They were players that you need to deal with sound systems and things like that. So at the end, a client-side application only when do you need it? I mean, for an admin panel. I mean, I don't get it. Why people starting doing it this way? Because in general,
it's cheaper.
That's true. It's cheaper for you as a company.
Yeah.
But at the end, your users that are in Nigeria will not have any experience at all in your site.
Exactly.
Probably. Yep. So you are losing
exactly.
clients. So at the end, it's like if you pay a little bit more in that server and you catch properly, then you have more users. So,
Ooh, that is also true. Yeah, then you have more users, and more users probably means more revenue.
Indeed. If you are only doing websites for the Dutch people, then probably go for the client side, because in the end you can do whatever. They have a Mac, they have the money, they have the power, the network.
Yeah.
But if at least your website is also worldwide, you will also need to deal with the server's duplications and all the DevOps stuff. So, I mean, it's always to have a better system since the beginning. And of course, as I work in agencies, they have a system that they replicate for the others, so you don't need to rethink again the backend. Everything was already built with all the caching layers. And at the end, the only new thing was the front end. Yeah. And was always made in the same structure with the same language. So it was easy to build that kind of stuff because we already have like a template, So it's not that difficult if you start since the beginning working on a template project.
Well, we have a couple of questions that we ask every guest on our podcast, and it's not too difficult.
Personal?
Well,
okay.
It's no, it is a really difficult question actually when you start thinking about it. But I'll let that up to you. You'll see. What technology are you excited about and why? You see what I mean?
Yeah, because I have you here. So it's like what I can say. No,
you can say anything. Like it's totally fine.
I will say the technologies I discovered this year that get me hype was a small project from Supabase for creating collaboration out of the box with service work as made by them. Okay. So basically you install it and you can have this collaboration that everyone moves the mouse and you can see it. That's a good question. Supabase collaboration. Okay. I don't know. It's one of the options. Yeah. But I'm hype in general about the Supabase project because I think they are doing things that for me are difficult, really easy thing to do, and just install it and use the guidelines. And I think that for me is a game changer because now I can focus on my front end and then use them to do the actual job,
Yeah. No, definitely.
So I'm really hyped about them because until now I was using Hello CMS only because I was creating content, but now I want to create more funny projects that we can interact, make games live that you can play with everyone. And to do that, you need to actually know a backend language. And of course I can try Node, but I don't think I want to focus on that, if I'm honest. So when I saw Supabase, it's like, this is my thing now. Yeah. I need to learn it. So I'm hype about it. But of course, Astro is also a framework I am using right now to create paid projects. Not something big, if I'm honest. But I will try more often. So let's see. Let's see.
Yeah, I actually used. Well, I use Astro on a daily basis now, so probably that's not relevant. But before I was a core member, I used Astro probably also like in very small websites, not too big. Although I do feel that narrative is changing in a sense. I do think there are companies hopping on the hype train of Astro, and also like I think we're improving to be more enterprise ready in a sense. But yeah, I don't want to take the shining light away from Supabase. I actually never used. Well, I did use Supabase authentication, but nothing more than that.
You need to check the other packages they have. That's the thing. Most of
I
them,
know.
they didn't have them. They have authentication in the database one, and I was thinking, okay, Firebase, them, the same. But now they are differentiating themselves because of that. And I think, we need to look after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before I worked at Astro, I worked at another company here in Belgium, and there I always chose Firebase over Supabase just because of the Google Cloud integrations. But yeah,
and I checked the name. It's called Real Time.
Real Time. Yeah, makes sense.
It's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about it. It's like collaboration.
No, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, cool to hear. I never heard someone say something like that before.
Nice.
Web development. You're basically doing web development, right?
Yeah, indeed. I tried once to create with Ionic a progressive web app that ended up being mobile, but it was just for fun. I mean, nah.
Yeah.
It's too much headache. It's
exactly.
like you need to have the system uploaded. Yes. You need to check all the iOS versions. Sometimes they work, sometimes they not. You need to have permissions, and it's like, oh, I'm exhausted already.
I guess it's just another system that you have to get used to. Probably the same that a Rust programmer would say, oh, installing crates is easy, while but NPM works fine for me. So yeah, it's just a different system, I guess. But what I wanted to ask was, where do you see web development in 5 years?
In 5 years, that's a lot of time thinking about this past.
Especially in how fast it's going here. Yeah, definitely.
I will say, if there is no any other pandemic, then I expect that it's not that fast than these past 2 years. And then in 5 years, probably we have invented some other frameworks, but not that many.
Of course. Do you think the pandemic had a lot to do with building new frameworks and
in general, open source?
Yeah.
I think so. Because at the end, well, at least if you watch Hacktoberfest numbers, the year of COVID, it was like a jump. Because everyone was at home.
Yeah, it's true. Mm-hmm.
So we had more time, closed doors, and people that already code decide to code more. People that probably were doing other things, like me, for example. I wasn't coding in my free time till the COVID started.
Yeah.
I was only doing it at work. And I started contributing to open source because of that, because I had time at home.
Makes sense.
So, of course, it helps in a sense. I mean, it helps because now there is people that got anxiety because of that. One of them is me. It's not that happy, everything. But in general, we had more time to spend at home. And now that we are free to go outside, I prefer to go outside. So I will not go that much.
No, it's true. While COVID was happening, I was also like in my second year of university. For the people just listening to the audio, Alba
I can see you here.
Alba is throwing a face at me because she realizes I'm too young. So I was in my second year for university. And at that time, like, I didn't have a personal life. It was just coding, working.
Oh my God. Really? No personal life for me, university was my top in personal life.
Yes, I mean. But you could go outside.
Yeah. No, what? I didn't think about the both things at the same time. Okay. True.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Fuck. Like, there was nothing to do. You couldn't, no. There was nothing that you were allowed to do. Like, I couldn't leave my own home. We couldn't sit on benches for one of another reason. So yeah, that was like a crazy time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just working all the time. That's also when I discovered Astro, a little bit later. But yeah, web development in 5 years? It's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's so hard. It's so hard. I expect in some sense that there is some kind of understanding between companies. So we end up not having to have the interop and all these programs that make the browsers compatible. And we end up with something that is compatible with everything out of the box when they release it.
A bigger
and something
standard in a sense.
Exactly. Because for me, the main headache is I want to use something. Probably it's working, probably not. It depends on the version of the user. It depends on the browser they are using. That's kind of annoying because if you want to be modern or on top of the technology, you can't. If you have a business and you need to sell something. So
right,
for
because
me,
it's
it
all
will
moving
be
so
better.
fast.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And of course, you want to move that fast also if you are only focusing in one product, in one website, isn't it? You want to also be on top of the technology and be the fastest and whatever, but you can't because your users probably are using an old system. And that's a pity. So in general, that they integrate everything better together, Safari, Firefox, and all these colleagues, that would be nice. And the same for frameworks. Stop creating frameworks. Start building something together, please. It's like, why everyone needs to create one? You can collaborate with Vue or something, or React and Vue collaborate with each other, make React Vue, so everyone is happy. I don't know. I know it's difficult, but I mean, in general, I think we don't need more frameworks.
Well,
we need more understanding with the ones that we have, so they can be better in performance, in the things they do, and be usable for everyone. I don't know.
Well, you touch an interesting point there, collaboration. But in a sense, don't you think there is a lot of collaboration? And for one, I will say that, in a sense, the competitiveness in between different frameworks, like Vue doing something and React hopping on the train and doing something, don't you think that's also what drives the web forward faster? Isn't that always raising the bar for somebody else so they can raise the bar again and again and again?
But my thing is, if you can raise that bar, you know how to raise it, isn't it? And the other guy thought differently and they raised it again, like Evan You on top of what they do with React hooks. So the idea is, if they communicate with each other, they can do that in one framework. I mean, why we need to have two? No, my idea is, if a company needs to choose between 10 frameworks, probably they will stay with the one they have.
Right. True.
So they can skip all the process of checking all of them and just improve the one they have. So I think if we made it simple, if we made it in a sense that we can improve web altogether, like the Interop is trying with the CSS standards and things like that. But of course, for example, I see that Nuxt and Next are working together with Google, and Google is in a kind of sense helping to connect with the browser all the systems and make easier all the connections. Okay, probably they will make the same standards without noticing it because another company is on top of them. But yeah, in general, I think we need to collaborate more. But also our system is capitalism and we have companies that need money. And this is another point that I can't deal with it right now.
Yes, definitely. It resonates. But it's also hard. Like, I'm very much in favor of like more collaboration, for sure. But if all the frameworks start working together, don't you have just one entity that decides the whole future of the web? And isn't that...
The idea is like in Switzerland, they have like a parliament that every party is there. Something like that, I can imagine. In the front end
so everyone
frameworks.
gets basically a democratic internet.
Yeah.
Or web performance, whatever. Yeah.
That's what Web3 is proposing, isn't it? But it's not what they are doing. But they propose that, I think. But it's never working. It's not working, yeah. It's just utopia.
I mean, people always make weird choices, right? And not always grounded. That's what makes us human.
No, but in general, at least that they make the transition better between one framework and another.
Yeah.
And they keep the performance as the first thing.
Equal.
And not the latest. For example, in React, I see that you need to use memo, use callback. It's like, why that is not a default thing, isn't it? That's why
Well, they are bringing the forget compiler,
okay.
which basically does that for you without you having to
Nice.
worry about that. It's still a thing in the works, and I'm not the person to talk about about that, but I know that it's somewhere on the roadmap, and like I've done my fair share of React conferences, and if I pick something
That's
up,
nice to know. At least that they go towards the goal
Yeah.
of not making the developer deal with that in the
Yeah.
beginning. Because, of course, there is junior people that will not never know till they face the problem.
Well, it has two sides in a sense. For one, really cool that they do it automatically and they can do it automatically. But two, you're also trusting them to do it for you. Whereas now you have full control over it as a developer, in a sense. But also, let's not forget that React also is about 10 years old. So the thing is, it is an older framework. And if you want to, like, of course, they're not able to always make super breaking changes in their syntax and in the way they do stuff, because then they would release a new framework every major. And I think that's where other frameworks have an advantage now, is that they're new. For instance, Solid is a new framework, and they were able to fix mistakes from React because they were able to look at React and see what's going wrong and then replace that, or change that in a sense. I'm very interested to see like what will be coming in 5 years. If we take a look back 5 years, the internet was not the same. Like people were running WordPress sites, people were using, not even very much TypeScript was used. So yeah, in 5 years, if we have to guess, we can only guess. Yeah. So thank you, Alba. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you had a great time. Yeah,
of course, with you always.
Oh, yeah, but we'll see each other again soon. I think the first one would be here in Ghent, and then the second one would be at
I
JS
hope
World
so,
or
that you
Dev
stay
World.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
sounds good. All right, thank you so much, and see you next time.
Thanks to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye people.
Bye bye.